This stop is 8th Avenue and West 57th Street. Next stop, Central Park West in Columbus Circle. This stop is Central Park West in Columbus Circle. Next stop, Central Park West and West 63rd Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 63rd Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 67th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 67th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 69th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 69th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 72nd Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and M72. This stop is Central Park West and West 72nd Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 75th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 75th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 77th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 77th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 79th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 79th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 81st Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and M79 SBS. This stop is Central Park West and West 81st Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 84th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 84th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 87th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and M86 SBS. This stop is Central Park West and West 87th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 88th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 88th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 90th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 90th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 92nd Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 92nd Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 94th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 94th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 97th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and M96. This stop is Central Park West and West 97th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 100th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 100th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 102nd Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 102nd Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 104th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 104th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 106th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 106th Street. Next stop, Central Park West and West 108th Street. This stop is Central Park West and West 108th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 111th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 111th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 113th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 113th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 116th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and M116. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 116th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 119th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 119th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 121st Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 121st Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 123rd Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 123rd Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 125th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains, M60 SBS, M101, M101 Limited and M125. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 125th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 127th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 127th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 129th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 129th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 131st Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 131st Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 133rd Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 133rd Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 135th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and BX33. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 135th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 138th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 138th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 141st Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 141st Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 143rd Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 143rd Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 145th Street. Transfers available to the B and C trains and BX19. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 145th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 148th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 148th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and Maccombs Place. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and Maccombs Place. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 153rd Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 153rd Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 155th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 155th Street. Next stop, Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 158th Street. This stop is Frederick Douglass Boulevard and West 158th Street. This is M10 to Harlem 159th Street. A fare is required to ride.